Hello, welcome to another quick video. Just going to be looking at another aspect of the work you've been set this week, which is changing the subject, rearranging, often known as. So we're just going to make a different unknown, a different letter, the subject. The subject just means which unknown is going to be on its own. So in this case, y equals 3x add z. Y is the subject because that's the one that is on its own. So in all these questions, I'm just going to rearrange and make x the subject. So we can start simpler where we've only got one letter that we want to make the subject. So I'm going to build up to having multiple letters. So at the moment, y equals mx. So mx just means m multiplied by x because there's no symbol there, add b. If you can solve an equation, you can rearrange equations. It's very, very similar. So I'm going to get rid of everything on the same side as the x. So I'm going to undo it. So first of all, we're almost going to go in the reverse order of the order of operations. So I'm going to subtract b there, which means I'm going to subtract b there. So now I've got y subtract b equals mx. I'm going to make sure, just like if I was solving an equation, write it down and do it on both sides. So now y subtract b equals m multiplied by x. The opposite of multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide by m there and divide by m there. So now I've got y subtract b divided by m. Notice I'm going to put the divide as a fraction. Reason for that, if you wrote it as y subtract b divided by m like that, order of operations was saying you're doing the b divided by m first, so we cannot do that. You could put brackets in to make it right, but it's a lot easier just leaving it as a fraction in this case, and that's going to be equal to x. Doesn't matter that the x is on the right hand side, so you can switch it if you want, no worries, but absolutely fine leaving it like that. Some people like doing function machine in this case. Generally, I'd shy away from that. It's better just to go down the method of actually solving, the solving method that you've seen before. Function machine would have looked like x has been multiplied by m, then we've added b, and we are equal to y. So to reverse it, y subtract b divided by m is equal to x, and then you just write this bit down. So y subtract b divided by m equals x. Now what you may notice is they start throwing in extra terms, extra letters, and a lot of people get a bit confused with what's happening there, get a bit confused because that's got a cubed on it, so they suddenly throw in a cube root, etc. But we're still going to do exactly the same here. So first of all, I'm going to add on n cubed. So now I've got 2tx equals 4f add n cubed. So we don't need to cube root it or anything, we just do the opposite. So it's subtract n cubed, so we add n cubed to get rid of it, to get it to the other side. We've now got x multiplied by 2t. Doesn't matter that there's two little bits in there, it's still just been multiplied by something. Opposite of multiply, and divide. So I'm going to divide by 2t. And we end up with that as our rearrange. X equals 4f add n cubed divided by 2t. Again, this one here, you've got other bits that are in there to try and confuse you a little bit. You've got a square root of a, you've got a fraction, you've got a b squared. Again, we're just going to undo everything. So first thing we're going to have to undo this time is the fraction. Obviously, if you want to have a go at these, just pause the video and see how close you can get to the solution. The ones that have been set on Haggerty are very, very similar to this. So I'm going to opposite of divide by 3c, multiplied by 3c. So now I've got 3c root a equals x add b squared. So now the only other thing with the same side of the x is the add b squared. Again, you don't need to square root anything because it's just added. So subtract b squared there, subtract b squared there. So I've got 3c root a subtract b squared equals x again. You can switch sides if you want, but no real need to. Right. We then come on to something where we do have some type of power applied to the x. So in this case, it's an x squared, and then the next one is going to be square root of x. Still very similar. So 3a multiplied by x squared again. I know it's multiplied because there's no symbol there. So I'm going to get rid of the multiplication first. So divide by 3a there. Divide by 3a there. So now I've got x squared equals b cubed divided by 3a. Exactly the same as I said before. Don't just write it as divide, put it as a fraction. Less likely to go wrong that way. So now I've got to get rid of the x squared. Well, the opposite of squaring something is square rooting something. So I'm going to square root both sides. So that would now give me x equals the square root of b cubed divided by 3a. It's really important at this point you put plus and minus. The reason you need a plus and a minus in there, square root of 25 is 5 because 5 times 5 is 25, but it's also negative 5 because when you do negative 5 multiplied by negative 5, you also get 25 because the negative is multiplied by another negative. So just when you do the square roots, when you're rearranging, just have the add and subtract little symbol. Same as when you've seen it in quadratic formula, etc. Right, our next one, 3p add 5 multiplied by square root of x equals 2q squared. So first thing I'm going to get rid of is the add 3p. So I'm going to take 3p from both sides. So we get 5 root x equals 2q squared minus 3p. I'm then going to get rid of the multiplied by 5. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So now I've got root x equals 2q squared minus 3p all over 5. So just like the previous one, when we had opposite of square with square root, opposite of square root is square. So what I'm going to have to do here is square both sides. So square that side, root x times by root x is just x. And then I'm going to have to make sure I square the whole thing. So to do that, I put the whole thing in brackets and put a square on it like that. Don't just put a little square there because it would then just be applying to the 3p, etc. Right, our final two questions now have x on both sides. So I've got an x there and I've got an x there. So that makes these slightly more difficult, and it's also why this method I don't particularly like with the function machine, just because it falls down. You can't do it when you've got multiple unknowns. So slightly different method. First of all, I've got to get all of the x's on the same side. Doesn't matter whether it's left or right, but I'm going to get everything with the x on the same side. So I'm going to take 2cx there and take 2cx there. So now I've got ax subtract 2cx add 2d equals 5b. So I've got all the x's on the same side. Anything that's non-x involved in the term, so this has gone x, this has gone x, this one hasn't. I'm going to get rid of the add 2d by subtracting 2d. So now I've got ax minus 2cx equals 5b subtract 2d. Now, really important process. The only way I can go from having two x's here in two different terms to just having one is by factorising. So factorising, collecting like terms. In this case, all I want to collect is the x's. So the x goes on the outside the bracket. Cancel there, so I'm left with a subtract 2c. I've still got 5b, take away 2d there. Final step, this is now x multiplied by something. X multiplied by the bracket. Doesn't matter that it's a whole bracket, it's still just multiplied by something. So opposite of multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by the bracket. So my final step here now, I've got x equals 5b subtract 2d, and just like before with the divide, I'm going to put it as a fraction. You can leave that in brackets if you want, or you can just forget about them, but it makes no difference, it's still going to be there. Last one, this time I've got some brackets to expand first, and then I'm going to follow the previous pattern. So this is going to be yx at ya equals kx at kz. Again, I'm going to get all the x's on the same side, so I'm going to subtract kx there and there. So yx subtract kx at ya equals kz. This bit hasn't gone x, so I need to go to the other side. So now I've got yx, take kx equals kz subtract ya. Again, two x's, so I'm going to have to factorise x, y, subtract k, kz minus ya. Final step, x multiplied by the bracket, so I'm going to divide by the bracket. So divide by that y, subtract k on both sides. So my final answer, x is going to be equal to kz subtract ya, all divided by y subtract k. And there's our final answer. Hopefully that helped.